One of the most fascinating and misunderstood topics in the domain of human relationships is the silent language of affection, particularly when it emanates from a woman who is quietly, perhaps even secretly, in love. When a woman is secretly in love, her attention becomes precise, not loud, sharp, like a scalpel, not a spotlight. She observes with care, not because she's nosy, but because she values what you don't even realize is valuable. She doesn't need your declarations. She studies your silences. She listens not just to what you say, but to the rhythm of how you say it. Her gaze lingers not on appearance, but on pattern, on how you treat the waiter, the tone you use with your mother. She remembers what you forget, not because she tries to, but because you matter. Where the world scrolls past, she pauses. Your words become reference points in her mental map. Her memory becomes selective, filtering the irrelevant and clinging to the essential. If you once mentioned your childhood dog, she'll bring it up 6 months later like it was yesterday. Her attention becomes a form of reverence, a quiet honoring of your existence. She notices the small frustrations in your day, the subtle shifts in your mood before you do. Your sighs aren't random to her. They are data points in an emotional graph she's charting internally. She decodes your exhaustion, senses your withdrawal, tracks your laughter like a barometer of spiritual weather. This attention is not surveillance, it's attunement. She orients herself around you like a compass responding to a magnetic field. Her body language mirrors yours in micro movements that even she is unaware of. She'll angle herself toward you in group conversations without consciously doing so. She will laugh not just at your jokes, but with the timing and warmth of someone who values your soul. When you speak, she listens as if you're saying something that reshapes the world. She's not just hearing content, she's feeling the intention behind your words. She sees what you emphasize, what you avoid, what you hope someone will finally understand. If you mention a goal, she doesn't forget it. She watches for signs of progress, as if your success is hers. She learns your schedule not to interfere but to align. Her time starts to orbit yours in imperceptible ways, coincidences that are not quite accidental. She shows up when it matters, disappears when she might overwhelm, reappears when you're ready again. This is not manipulation. It is the choreography of love, learning to dance. She might offer support before you even admit you need it. She predicts what you need without prying it out of you. Your burdens become hers in concept, even if she carries none of the load. Yet, she values what you create, even if the world hasn't recognized it yet. If you're building something from nothing, her attention becomes your first form of recognition. She sees potential before it materializes, because love, in its rawest form, is prophetic. She'll ask questions that show depth, not just curiosity. She'll want to know the why behind your actions, not just the what. She studies the gap between your principles and your practice. When you contradict yourself, she notices, but not to judge, to understand. She sees the tension between who you are and who you want to be. Her attention isn't flattery, it's study. Her study isn't cold, it's warm, filled with admiration she hasn't yet earned the right to confess. She looks at you like you're already partially hers, not in possession, but in hope. And that hope gives her the strength to invest without return, at least for now. Even when she hides her feelings, her attention betrays her investment. In a room full of noise, her eyes still find you. If you're speaking, she's not distracted. She's dialed in. She doesn't need to speak to feel close to you. Observation is intimacy in silent form. She places emotional significance on details that others overlook entirely. A shared glance becomes a memory she replays. A half smile becomes a symbol she decodes for hours. She mentally archives moments you've already forgotten. In a digital age obsessed with speed, she slows down when it comes to you. Time itself feels different in your presence. Not rushed, but sacred. She senses your contradictions, not as flaws, but as places where your humanity shows through. And she pays attention not to fix you, but to witness you. Witnessing in its purest form is a kind of love that asks for nothing. She'll notice how you treat yourself and whether you allow yourself rest. She'll see how you respond to failure, not just success. She tracks your coping mechanisms like an anthropologist watches rituals. Your inner world becomes her unspoken priority. She reads your humor as a coping strategy, not just entertainment. She understands the wound behind the wisdom, the ache behind the achievement. She isn't interested in your perfection, she's attentive to your wholeness. She becomes familiar with your blind spots, not to expose them, but to guard them. She anticipates your reactions like someone decoding a storm. She offers calm not just in speech, but in presence. If you're speaking to a group, her validation will anchor you. If you're misunderstood, her gaze reassures you that you're seen. If you doubt yourself, her questions invite you back to strength. She will make you feel like you are the most fascinating novel ever written. She doesn't skim your pages. She reads deeply between the lines. And when she reads, she remembers. Because you are now part of her internal landscape, she prepares herself for your needs without expecting recognition. This isn't submission, it's sublimation of ego for the sake of care. She doesn't need to be the center of attention, only the center of awareness in your presence. Her intelligence focuses like a beam of light on the complexities of who you are. Her energy shifts when you enter the room, even if her words do not. She waits for cues from you, not to obey, but to sync. She honors your emotional pace by mirroring it, step for step. She's not in a rush, because real attention waits. She doesn't need to define the relationship to act in alignment with love. Her care operates on the principle of quiet sacrifice, invisible to the casual observer. She will spend emotional labor on you without asking for reimbursement. She creates space for you to be more of yourself, not less. Her presence demands nothing, yet offers stability. Her attention becomes sanctuary, not spotlight. She finds beauty in your broken parts, not just your polished exterior. She becomes fluent in your emotional language before you teach it. She reflects back your strengths in ways that make you believe in them. She sees who you are becoming and begins to act as if you're already there. Her faith in you is not blind, it's studied, deliberate, chosen, and in her silent, consistent attention, she declares, "I see you." And that is no small thing. When a woman is secretly in love, her emotional system becomes a live wire tuned to your frequency. She begins to feel more, not because she is irrational, but because love awakens the deepest parts of her nervous system. Her emotions swell in your presence, not for drama, but because her psyche is no longer indifferent to your actions. You become a variable that can tilt her emotional axis. And that shift is not trivial, it is transformative. She may laugh louder at your jokes, but not out of politeness. Something inside her is moved. When you're joyful, it lifts her. When you're hurting, it pierces her. Her emotional state synchronizes to yours like tides pulled by a gravitational moon. She'll get quiet when you're distant, not because she lacks words, but because your absence ungrounds her. If you speak harshly, even unintentionally, it echoes in her mind far longer than you intended. She tries to appear unaffected, but the effort itself is proof of her inner chaos. Your smallest gestures become large waves in her emotional sea, ripples others miss. Her mood begins to swing based not on her day, but on how you make her feel, without realizing it. She gets irritated over things she would ignore in anyone else because you matter too much. She wants to know if you noticed her new tone, her new dress, her silence, and your oblivion stings. Your validation becomes a drug she can't ask for, so she looks for it in fragments. She becomes sensitive to competition. Another woman near you isn't just another presence, it's a perceived threat. The thought of you giving attention elsewhere creates dissonance in her chest that logic can't fix. Jealousy emerges not from weakness, but from the pain of emotional investment not yet secured. She might lash out in seemingly small ways, short replies, delayed texts, not to punish, but to test if you notice. She fears losing something that was never officially hers, and that fear governs her more than she'll admit. Your inconsistency doesn't confuse her mind, it scrambles her heart. She becomes hyper-aware of your tone, picking up on sarcasm, distance, indifference, whether real or imagined. She reads between your lines and often creates meaning where There was none. Because the stakes feel high. If you're cold, she might act colder, not from malice, but from protective mimicry. If you're kind, her guard drops so fast it scares her. She becomes defensive, not because she's against you, but because she's unprepared for how much she's for you. She'll challenge you unexpectedly, not to provoke, but to uncover your authenticity. When a woman is in secret love, her emotional reactivity is her way of calibrating your intentions. She pays attention to how you argue. Do you fight fair? Do you retreat? Do you attack? Her emotional reactions are rehearsals for safety. She needs to know if you're stable before she risks her soul. She might seem inconsistent when in truth she's deeply torn between caution and desire. She holds back vulnerability like a dam barely containing floodwater because once it's released, she can't take it back. She wants to tell you how deeply she feels, but the fear of rejection chains her tongue. Her passion simmers under the surface, restrained only by uncertainty. The more she loves you in secret, the more explosive her reactions become to your indifference. Silence from you is not neutral. It's a storm in her chest. A missed call doesn't just register as an oversight. It registers as a wound. She might accuse you of things you haven't done, not because she believes them, but because her heart suspects danger. She builds emotional defenses in proportion to how unsafe your ambiguity makes her feel. You might think she's overreacting, but her heart doesn't know how to whisper. Every smile you give her is stored like fuel. Every frown burns a hole through her certainty. She's emotionally reactive. Because she's emotionally exposed, whether she shows it or not, she feels everything more intensely when it's tied to you. Even the mundane becomes emotionally charged. You hold the keys to emotional lands she didn't mean to open, but now can't close. She notices your absence with more intensity than others notice your presence. She might cry over something small, but the tears come from a reservoir you helped fill. When you validate her, she glows internally, but she hides it because joy would reveal too much. She'll overthink your simple messages, looking for subtext, reading your silence like scripture. She'll replay conversations you've forgotten, looking for signs she missed. You become the mirror in which she sees her emotional worth, and that reflection wields power. Her heartbeat changes when she sees your name, and no one will ever know. She may appear controlled, but inside her emotions roar like wildfire in a locked cage. She'll withdraw emotionally when overwhelmed, but it's a scream, not apathy. When she's short with you, it's often because you touched a place inside her that hasn't healed. When she challenges your motives, she's praying for reassurance disguised as accusation. Her emotional reactivity is not dysfunction, it's relational intelligence tuned to high alert. She doesn't want to feel this much, but her biology has already voted before her mind caught up. She fears you will misunderstand her depth and walk away from the very thing that could nourish you. Her emotions are a map of everything she values, and you have become a landmark. She will oscillate between wanting to tell you everything and fearing you'll laugh at her vulnerability. And her desire to be known fights her instinct for protection, and both scream inside her every time you speak. You become the storm and the shelter, depending on how safe you feel that day. Her inner emotional compass spins wildly when your signals are mixed. When she is quiet, it's rarely because she has nothing to say. It's because everything she wants to say feels unsafe. Her emotional storm is not designed to harm you. It's a flare for help, for presence, for truth. You may see mood swings, but beneath them is a woman asking, "Do I matter to you the way you matter to me?" She may pretend she's unaffected, but her nervous system betrays her every time you walk into the room. Her love is not passive. It's a tidal force hiding behind a calm face. You are the only one who can pull certain expressions from her: anger, awe, panic, joy. She's not unstable. She's deeply, profoundly alive in your presence. Your affection calms her more than meditation. Your coldness can undo a week of emotional work. She builds emotional walls slowly, but when she starts to care, those walls tremble. She is not afraid of emotion. She is afraid of emotion given and not returned. When she lashes out, it's the heart's rebellion against invisibility. She's not trying to manipulate. You've simply become the center of a world she hasn't confessed exists. And in that secret world, every word you speak is a drumbeat in her bloodstream she can't silence.